So firstly, like for the people who knows or doesn't know, so here in this particular training session, we will be covering Playwright, and also the tools that we actually use or the language that we use is JavaScript and TypeScript. Okay. So firstly, in this training session, what and all we are going to cover. Okay. So the basics of testing. So what is this basics of testing is, we'll just give a insights or a quick idea for the people who have been not into testing field any time before. See, for the working professionals, yes, it's well and good that they'll be aware of, but for the people who have not been into this sector or into this IT, so they'll be not knowing. So for them to get familiarized with the things, so the basics of testing will cover, and next we'll start with the coding part. So JavaScript and TypeScript will go deep dive and basics and everything. So why we actually need this JavaScript and TypeScript is, this is actually a prerequisite for our Playwright, right? So whenever you want to write any of your automation test cases, so you need some language to write on top of any other tool, right? Or any automation framework. So that might be Java, JavaScript, C Sharp, Python, anything. So but here we'll cover JavaScript and TypeScript. And next comes the main tool that we are mainly focused on. So that's is a Playwright. So here, what are we going to cover in Playwright? So the UI part of it. So when you talk about the UI, it is about the web. Okay, on all the different browsers like Chrome, Firefox, or Safari, or anything. So in all these browsers, all this UI automation will be covered, and also we will take some samples of API automation also, and even API automation will be covered. So why do we need API automation? Is right now, if you see any platform or any application that we take, that are being completely integrated into with multiple systems, right? So whenever we are interacting with multiple systems, or even within a single system also, so we have many number of APIs. So API is not a different technology, or not a different team that will be testing right now. So yes, there are teams when it maybe some 5 6 years back, we have a different API testing team, or a different UI testing team, or a different database testing team. But right now, when you call about a tester, it is like you have to test UI, you have to test API, or whenever it comes to any of the usabilities or compatibility testings, anything has to be tested by the single tester itself. So that's why we'll cover the API also, and the end-to-end testing. So when I talk about this end-to-end testing, right? So what does this cover is, we will take a project, okay, and that project will contains all these UI related things, API related things, and even the database related things also. Okay, so we will be covering the whole end-to-end life cycle. Suppose you can just consider it as a simple project. Okay, when you go to a real time, like suppose let's assume you are into a manual testing right now, let's assume, and now you are going into automation quickly. Okay, but you should not be in a situation once you go there and tell like, oh, I don't know this. What is this end-to-end automation, or how I need to get, how I should understand the framework that is there, or how this integration framework is being integrated with any of the CI/CD pipeline, right? So all those queries you should not get it when you are moving to a new role. Okay. So when you talk about this end-to-end testing, I'll be just covering even those parts also, like how your framework will be and how you will be able to integrate. Okay. And next come this framework and CI/CD. Yeah, I have mostly covered that also. So all, but as part of this course, we will be covering a hybrid driven approach framework with Cucumber. Okay, so in this way, what you will be able to say is, you will be able to cover the BDD style of it. So even if you take the current market, most of the people are mostly relying on the Cucumber. So what is this Cucumber is? It's a BDD driven development framework. Okay, so this BDD driven development, and this will be integrated with your TestNG or JUnit. I'll cover even those parts also with some quick idea. If you are into Selenium, right? How you will be able to relate the frameworks with Playwright. So even that transition I will cover. Uh, so that will make sure like, okay, you are not new to this tool because you will be in Selenium, but now you are transitioning into Playwright. Okay, so you should not be in a position like, hey, I didn't work on this Playwright before, right? So I'll help you to get the transition from a particular tool to a different tool. And also, if you are new to this particular tool itself altogether, you will be straight away going and start doing your work from day one. So that's the main agenda for this course. Okay, and next is the AI driven development. So this is the main thing that we are mainly focused on. So once these frameworks and everything is done, we will be having some quick or some good amount of schedule on this AI driven automation. So when I talk about this AI driven automation, right, we will talk about how we will be able to integrate our automation frameworks with AI, and also how you can actually develop a framework using AI. And also, if you integrate it with AI, what is the use that you are actually going to get it out? Okay. And the main agenda of this AI driven automation is, even without writing a single line of code, how you will be able to develop the framework using any of the AI tools. So that's the main agenda for this AI driven automation. Okay. So in this complete course, we'll be covering all these topics. Okay. So firstly, what is testing? Whether testing is a tool. So generally, when you hear, right,
Process.
you hear, yeah, yeah. So generally, when you hear from anyone, they tell like testing tools, testing tools, testing tools. So generally, it's not a tool. Okay. So testing is a process. Firstly, you need to understand like testing, it's a process. So what we do as part of this process is, we will try to verify our application, which is like the application under test. Okay. Whatever the developed application, that is actually matching with your business requirements or not. So that's the main agenda for your testing. So in simple terms, if I can just put it up with some simple example, right? You have purchased something from online. So let's assume you bought some mobile from your Amazon, right? So once you get that product, what do you generally do? So you open that package. Okay, that's one kind of testing. So what do you verify there? You verify your package has that mobile or not. Okay, then you unbox your box, and then you verify whether the actual mobile is present inside or not. And after that, you open the mobile, you just turn it on and see whether the display is coming properly or not, and you see whether there are any cracks or dents or any other malfunctioning or disturbances there on the mobile, right? So these are all are also a part of testing. Okay, so in your day-to-day life, you do a lot of things for your testing. Let's assume you are walking, you just cross verify in your surroundings and then just walk. So that's also a small kind of testing, right? So everything in your day-to-day life, you do testing. And now when you talk about software testing, the difference is, you are testing it on an application, right? So for a particular application, okay, you just cross verify, okay, I have a requirement, I need to send it an email. Okay, so that's my requirement. So for that, what I do is, first I will open the uh, so uh, so in your so the main thing here is, you will be actually testing your application based on your business requirements. So for the example of that we are taking for email, right? So you need to send out an email. So for that to test, what you generally do, you will open the email thing, right? So you go to gmail.com and you search whether its website is loading or not. Then you go to the particular home page and just check the compose email button is present or not. Okay, once you click on compose button, you see again the pop-up or the wizard that is coming up for inputting your email details, subject, message, and everything, right? So once you type your email ID and click on send, whether it is sending the email or not, like whether it is going to the sent items or drafts, like that, right? So all these things are kind of testing that you actually do on an application. So all these things who will be mentioning and where it will mention, it is on the business requirements. Okay, so what we generally do, we just cross verify our business requirements with the application that we actually developed. Okay, so the main agenda for this is not to get any defects and make a quality product. Okay. So as part of this, there are multiple processes that are there in this testing life cycle. Okay. And few of them are like validation, verification, defect identification, and quality assurance. Okay. So this will in the validation will just ensure like as it is coming under this business requirement and this requirement has been tested properly or not by using some test scenarios or test cases and everything. Okay. But when you take about the verification, right? So uh, are you actually building this product in this particular expected path or expected process or as per the specification? So it mainly talks about the processing of your the development in this particular transition. So verification mainly talks about that. Okay. So some kind of artifacts that you can tell, right? When you talk about the validation, so it will be like your test execution report or the test case results. Okay. But when you talk about the verification, it is about your test cases or the business requirements or all these are as per the process or not. Next comes the defect identification. So I think most of our testers will be mainly concentrating on this, right? So what is this defect identification? So to put it in a single one line, right? You have a requirement. If that is not matching with the application that it has been developed, then it's a defect. To put it in very singular thing, right? So the defect identification mainly talks about you have a requirement, okay, and now when you started testing, the application is not as per the requirement, then we actually flag it out as a defect. So that we call it as a defect identification bugs, defect identification. So the main goal over here is to just detect the defects or bugs or errors and then just prevent them from reaching to the end customers. Okay. And next is the quality assurance. So what is this quality assurance? It's mainly the process. Yes, exactly. You're on the right term. And also the main thing that we actually concentrate on this, right? Uh, when you say a quality product, uh, when you talk about quality, let's not talk about the software. When you talk about quality, what are the things that you actually think, right? So it has to perform well. On a long run, it has to perform. It has to meet your expectations in every term, not just on the UI. Okay, it has to be on the performance wise or on a long term, or it has to be performing really well even on getting any other new updates, everything, right? So this mainly talks about this particular phase. So it will ensure the overall quality of the product in terms of performance, security, usability, and readability. So when you just go deep dive into this particular points, when you talk about performance, right? Suppose let's assume my application has to work for some 1,000 users. Okay. So in this quality process, I'll make a description or a note that this application has to support this many number of users. That's my point for this. And next comes up something like security. I tell like my application should be security enough, like it should not breach to any of the vulnerabilities. Okay, considering these are my authentication process. So whenever I talk about this authentication process or something, I tell like I have to log into this application by using some SSO or through some OTP or through some passwords that is generated. That is one kind of authentication for your application to log in. But for application itself to be vulnerable free, okay, so for that what has to be taken care, even that we take it into consideration. And next, usability also, right? So when you talk about usability, so any simple use cases you guys think about usability. uh, you have opened some application and you don't know the functionality of it, anything, okay, but you want to navigate it to it. How you will know it? So if the application has provided me some kind of an user guide, okay, I can quickly go through that and navigate to that complete application, right? So when I talk about user guide, that might be a help document or available on that page as a single PDF or something, or within that particular form itself, if I am giving some hint messages, okay, first go here or first go here. So if you open any app, you'll get something called like a start tour, okay, for user guide tour like that, right? So that's kind of one of usability, okay, to help you to navigate. Or let's assume now you are trying to create your Gmail account. You have not filled the details and you just clicked on create. Okay. There are some mandatory fields, which is like your mobile number or name. These are missing, but those are being not shown on the UI. And now the user is in a position like why it is not creating, because he'll never know without having those validation messages or error messages on the screen, right? So that's kind of one of the usability. Or let's assume, uh, I think we have people across multiple states here, right? So there is one application that is being brought up by Indian government. Okay. Now that has to be accessed across all the states of India itself. And that application, let's assume that is in English. Okay. Now people who are in a rural part of South India or anywhere. So let's assume if they are in Telangana or Andhra somewhere, and they know only Telugu, and that application is only accessible in English. So in that case, the usability is not there. Like they will be not able to access the application in their rural language and they will be not able to proceed. So if they give a provision to convert that application into the regional languages, that's more is user friendly. Okay. So like this, there are multiple kind of use cases. That's a concept. Okay. That's about this usability. And what about this reliability? Yeah, safe and secure, and also it has to run continuously without any issues, right? This will actually ensure, even if you are using this particular application for a long time or under any some performance thing also, the application should not crash or there should not be any performance degradations. So this talks about the reliability. Suppose let's assume you are using Amazon, or okay, I can take the real-time example right now. So everyone are used to using these reels and Instagram posts or reels, right? So you have used for 1 hour, and after for 3 hours or 2 hours or something, it suddenly crashes. So then you have a option like, hey, this is not a reliable product. After some 1 hour or something, it is getting crashed, or this performance is getting lagged, right? So all these factors will come under this reliability testing. So application should work consistently even with any of the performance peak hours also without any failures. So that's the main thing. Okay. Anyone has any doubts on this? Okay. So let's quickly go through the next. So why is this testing important? Okay. So most of the things we already covered, but I'll just give some idea here. So quickly, why is it important? So mainly to ensure the quality or reduce cost, improve. So the main agenda of testing is to deliver the quality product. Okay. So when you talk about quality, what are the different things that we have discussed before, like this performance, security, functionality, usability, reliability. If we are actually meeting all these things, then we tell it is a quality product. Okay. So the first point talks about that, which ensures the quality. Okay. And next is the reduced cost. So what is this reduced cost? Okay. Let's assume uh, I have tested an application something and that has so many number of defects and it went to production. Okay. Now, when the customer or the user is using that application, there are so many defects that are already present. So what the customer will do, hey, there are so many products that you need to fix it. Then what happens? Again, the team has to reinvest their hours or effort into this particular application on fixing the defects and then again pushing it back to the customer. So the cost that is involved over here. So cost is nothing but not only on the currency or the amount, it is even on the effort that the team is putting on. Okay, so let's assume if it is taking 1 month of time to refix or reinvent things again, so that's also an impact on the cost, right? Because in that particular 1 month or a week of timeline, they would have been delivered a different enhancement or a different functionality or something altogether, right? But because of these issues or failures or the defects that we are actually getting it on the production, that is actually improving the cost again. Okay. And next is the improve customer satisfaction. So what is this, right? So whenever you get a delivery, you get a quality product, you have that satisfaction within your mind, right? So even if you have some product that you bought, like if you bought some iPhone 15 or 16 or something, and if you feel like that is actually really good, so from your customer point of view, you feel the product is actually really good and it is doing better. So you have that satisfaction, right? So when you have the satisfaction, what happens? Next time iPhone announces something, hey, I bought a new version into the market. Then what you feel? Yeah, this product is actually really good. Why can't I upgrade to the new version? So that's the kind of mindset that you get, right? But why you got that mindset? Just because of your customer satisfaction. Okay. So you have a quality product and the customer is satisfied, and he will be actually going out for upgrades or update or something, a new product that he want to launch. Okay, that's one thing. And next is the increases reliability and security. Yeah, I think we talked about this reliability and security, the same thing. So when you this is testing is actually important for you to get a reliable and a and a secure product that will actually indirectly help us in improving the customer satisfaction. Okay, so let's go. So generally when we talk about the testing, right? So guys, just bear with me just for today. Only for today you'll have all these theoretical slides just to get understanding on what is this testing. But from tomorrow you will see only visual code and all the libraries or coding part and everything. Okay, only for today you'll see it. Just bear with me. Okay, so what do you actually test it as a tester? So there are different things that you actually do it. So one is the functionality. Yes, functionality we talked about already, which is like you just cross verify your business requirements and everything, right? All this will come under this functionality. And also this integration. So even integration is also similar, but the main thing here is when you talk about integration, when I was talking about the example of Zomato and Google API at the time of API testing queries, right? So that's also kind of an integration. So you have a Zomato app that is getting integrated with a different application altogether. So in this way, you have to make sure the amount that your cart amount, which is there on your Zomato, that amount should be actually transferred or integrated to your Google API with this particular merchant. So the merchant, with that respect to like Zomato is the merchant, let's assume for Zomato merchant, it has to raise a request like a request to pay with a particular amount of some 400 or 500. So how this has been done? This is all because of the integration. So this is just a simple example. Okay, but even if you see the Flipkart or Amazon like that, right? So you will see so many products that are getting displayed. Do you think all those products are directly hosted in Amazon? No. So there are many integration tools that will actually help to put those product inventory into the Amazon website, and also the pricing also there will be a different pricing engine or anything or a different application that will be working on background that will actually give the pricing also. So these are all talks about this integrations. So when you talk about integration from one application to another application or within the same application, if you are interacting with a different application, in that case how the data is getting flown between those applications, even that we talks about this integration. And next comes the security. Yes, when you talk about the security, it's all about the SSO things or authentication process or the server breaches or any vulnerabilities that are coming. All those will talk about the security. We will not mainly concentrate on security. We have a different engineering teams altogether for security. So as a tester, we mainly check on the application authentication. We don't check on the application hosted environment authentications or something. We check only on security on the application that we are testing. So when I talking about application that we are testing, it's like I have a Gmail account. I should be able to log in with my own password, right? I cannot just give some dummy password and just log in. So those kinds of things. Or if it is asking for an OTP, and it has to accept the OTP that it has generated, and not some random one-time password that I generally give it. Okay, so that's one thing. And next comes the compatibility, usability, localization. Yeah, I think we have covered this compatibility, usability. Only one additional thing is that localization. Yeah, localization also comes up something like the same. When we talked about the example of multiple states using the same application, right? We talked about multiple states. Let's assume there is an application which is present globally. Okay, and that application has to be available for all the countries that are there, right? Let's assume we have this Arabic, right? So this Arabic, they have a different language, and also they write in from right to left, not from left to right, like generally how we do. They do it from right to left. So your application should support that localization also. So that's kind of an example for localization. And next is the load and performance, right? So the load and performance is something similar. So let's assume you have an application, okay, and you tell like the my application is supported for 1000 users. Okay, now you have to make sure that for 1000 users it has to work perfectly, right? So for that you actually do some performance testing stating I'll do for 1000 users, 800 users, 1100 users, 1200 users. So what I'll do is I will test the peak load, less than the peak load, and after the peak load also. Okay, so that's how you test your performance. And also you will tell like I have my application. I'll make sure like this application has to be so much reliable that it has to work continuously with the maximum load. Like what I'm telling is with 1000 users, my application has to run from next 12 hours or 13 hours. So in that case, how my application is actually behaving. Okay. Let's assume my application and all the 1000 users have logged in at the same time, not in different intervals. Like, so let's assume at 7 o'clock some people or 8 o'clock some people, but I'll make sure at 9 o'clock all 1000 users are there. So that's one kind of testing that I do. But what I'm trying to tell is at time of 9 o'clock, if 1000 people are joining at the same time, at those point of time, how my application is actually behaving. So even that we'll test it as part of this load and performance. Okay. So mainly when you talk about testing, right? These are all the things we will be testing it out. What is this Playwright? So I'll try to wrap up in next 5 to 10 minutes at max, and then I think we have already crossed the time. Yeah, but to give a quick introduction, so what is Playwright, guys? So when you talk about this Playwright, right, it is a tool packed with everything. When I'm telling packed with everything, so why I was telling is right, it has an inbuilt drivers, it has inbuilt reporting, it has inbuilt APIs for testing, or it has inbuilt integrations also. Okay. So, but before going through that, how is it different from any other tool, or why is it used? Okay. Firstly, why this Playwright is used? So, Playwright is a test automation tool which we will use for UI automation, API automation, and end-to-end automation. So when I talk about end-to-end automation, you can test UI or you can test APIs, anything, right? So, and this Playwright is supported across multiple languages. Okay. So when I talk about multiple languages, it is supported on Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, and C Sharp. Okay. All these languages are supported by Playwright. And the main thing here is this is an open source. Okay. So when you talk about open source, Uh, so generally, what do you guys think about open source? What is an open source? See, when you talk about Selenium, right, you have to take some external integrations, okay, like some REST assured or something. But this doesn't need it. It has some inbuilt libraries itself, which you'll be able to use it. Okay, and also even the reporting, right? Whenever you take a Selenium, you don't have an internal report. You have to either integrate with any of the external reports. Okay, but when you take it here, it has an inbuilt report already that is present, and The good thing here is even you will be able to integrate with any other external reports also. So you have good integrations and even predefined also. And also one more thing is the drivers. Okay. When you talk about Selenium, all those drivers you need to have it explicitly, but here you don't need it explicitly. This comes with your complete npm package itself. Okay. And firstly, let's go to our previous question. What is open source? They tell about open source, they just feel like it is free. Okay, it is free. It is free. Everyone can use it. That is true. But when you talk about open source, right, this particular framework or the application, this is available publicly. So you can go to the GitHub, you can get this complete tool within your local also. Okay, and you will be able to make changes to this tool also, and you can contribute to this tool also. So let's assume you are doing this Playwright, right? Now you want to develop a new feature, something like I want to integrate, I want to give a library which can test the agents also, like agentic AI also. Okay, or some other kind of usability things that you want to uh, do it. Okay, what you do is you develop a new tool or a new library, and you can actually add it to Playwright also by using that open source code that is actually present in the GitHub. Okay, so it is like open source is not just free. You will have the code already present in GitHub. You can actually get it. You can make modifications to it. You can actually add any enhancements to it, and you can also contribute to the particular tool. So that's the open source mainly talks about. Okay, so that's about open source. So I was covering on this language, right? So it covers for Java, JavaScript, C Sharp, Python, and it has integrations with all the major tools that you actually hear, whether it is Jenkins or AWS or any kind of cloud services. And also it can support the database testing, API testing, and the UI testing. Uh, and mainly the thing, right? It is actually very easy to automate in Playwright. And also the main thing is it has a auto wait feature which actually added an added advantage, which makes it an added advantage than any other tools, right? So it actually explicitly waits for that particular element to load and perform action. So all these things, maybe once we start automating, right, you will get more familiar. But here, just to get familiarized, what is this Playwright about, to get a brief insight, I'm just giving you all these inputs. Okay, when you compare to the other tools, yes, definitely it is actually good, and it actually gives an added advantage when it comes to the false failures also, right? So the false failures are actually very less when compared to other tools that we actually have in the market. Okay, so this is some quick introduction about this Playwright, but tomorrow we'll continue with some more little bit insights, and then we'll start our TypeScript and JavaScript from tomorrow.